Whoa, Nelly! Is it a done deal for Kevin McCarthy to become Speaker of the House? Not so fast! Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. Yes, I know. I told you all last Saturday, at the same time that I told you about the Democrats changing their leadership, I said that the House Republican Conference agreed to continue with their leadership. My assessment turns out to be premature. In fact, Representative Kevin McCarthy of California, the current House Republican leader, cannot assure himself of the speakership next year. A growing rebel faction pledges to vote for anyone else except McCarthy in the House organizational meeting next January. Negotiations promise to be difficult because these rebels simply do not trust McCarthy any further than they can throw him. And you want to know something else? Neither do I. Before we get into the weeds on this, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views. Link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of great merchandise there, especially this t-shirt that I have chosen for today, which depicts Donald J. Trump, the greatest president of them all, and calls him who he is and what he is, the great MAGA king. No, this isn't specifically about Trump or his plans, but it is about how someone stopped Trump's candidates, and when he did that, he created a problem for himself. And I am talking about none other than Kevin McCarthy. One more thing. If you like what you're about to hear, you can like this video. You can also click the bell icon to get a notice every time I come out with a new one. In fact, you see the new icon, the heart shape with the US dollar sign in it? That's the super thanks icon. If you really want to keep these videos coming, click on that and leave me a tip. Any currency will do, so long as it's legal tender. Now then, let's review. The day after midterms, the Daily Wire reported dissension in House Republican ranks. McCarthy, of course, announced his intention to run for Speaker. But CNN was already reporting that the House Freedom Caucus were demanding concessions in return for their votes. One of them, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, seems to have lined up behind McCarthy already. I have defended her before from what I consider to be some unfounded attacks. But now, after what she's done lately, I begin to wonder whether I should have. CNN speculated that she wrung some concession or other out of McCarthy in return for her vote and her active support. But Laura Loomer, who lost her primary in Florida's 11th district, speculated that McCarthy offered her a carrot in the form of reassignment to the committees from which the Democrats expelled her last year, and a stick in the form of blackmail, on the details of which Loomer would not speculate. But the rest of the Freedom Caucus were demanding, among other things, changes in House rules to permit members to recall a speaker more easily than they can today, and investigations of President Biden and or certain members of his cabinet with a view to removal of them on impeachment for and conviction of high crimes and misdemeanors in office. It may or may not be significant that Representatives James Comer of Kentucky and Jim Jordan of Ohio did announce plans to investigate Biden and his son over their business dealings in Eastern Europe and elsewhere. McCarthy has been making blatant campaign promises. Among them, he pledged to remove Representatives Adam Schiff of California and Ilhan Omar of Minnesota from their respective committees. Now, I'm not saying that these two deserve to continue on those committees. I'll be the first to say that they don't. But I'll also say that it ill befits a candidate for the speakership to be promising that kind of punishment that it is only logical to mete out as if no other Republican would see to it. as the settlement of House races ground on, Fox News reported that certain House Freedom Caucus members would never vote for Kevin McCarthy as Speaker no matter what. One of them is Representative Bob Good of the 5th District of Virginia, who said, and I quote, "Kevin McCarthy has done nothing in 2 years to earn my vote," unquote, Bob Good. Fox also reminded people that the Freedom Caucus stopped McCarthy from becoming Speaker in 2015. On November 16th, the House Republican Conference held a preliminary leadership nomination vote, according to Red, Right, and True Media. McCarthy got 188 votes to 31 for Representative Andy Biggs of Arizona, and another 5 for neither of the above. Now those totals add up to 224 votes. Well, by then, Decision Desk had the Republicans with 219 settled seats. Now, that of course means that Republicans will take the House, which puts the speakership in Republican reach. However, this vote is not binding in any way, shape, or form. To help you understand why not, I've left a link in the description to a nifty essay by the Congressional Institute on the selection process for the Speaker of the House. No candidates for the speakership simply walks into the House chamber carrying a bunch of proxies. Every member of the House must stand and answer with either the name of his preferred speaker candidate or the word present. The House needs a simple majority of members present and voting to choose a speaker. Kevin McCarthy has a problem. 4 races remain to decide, and of them, one, Alaska at large, will certainly go to the Democrat. You remember I told you why. What kind of voting did I tell you Alaska now has? Right, ranked choice voting. Well, that leaves 3. So Republicans could get 222 seats, but as many as 5 defections will stop McCarthy from becoming Speaker. So how many defectors might exist? Before I tell you that, I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. That sponsor is oursilverlines.com. Do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You're not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, and unexpected changes in life have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Now, whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins or take advantage of the business opportunities that company provides, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit oursilverlines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. Now, where were we? Yes, we were talking about how many Republicans are lining up to vote against Kevin McCarthy. Just the News reported only yesterday that the Freedom Caucus had 4 confirmed defectors. They are Representatives Andy Biggs, Matt Gaetz of Florida, Matt Rosendale of Montana, and Ralph Norman of South Carolina. To these, definitely add Bob Good of Virginia, according to Victoria Smitsar-Churchill at the Republican Standard. Mr. Good made several definite accusations against McCarthy in an interview with radio host John Fredericks on the 16th. I have a link in the description to a 17-minute segment of John Fredericks' radio show, which plays in the Richmond TV and radio markets, by the way. And it's on Rumble. Congressman Good has both personal and broader ideological grievances against McCarthy. He accused McCarthy of opposing him during his primary campaign and then not speaking to him afterward. Worse, he accused McCarthy of spending $50 million to oppose solid conservative candidates in primary season and afterward. McCarthy spent money to support only those Republican candidates who would vote for him as Speaker. And so Good, Mr. Good said to Mr. Fredericks. And he also accused Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky of doing the same thing on the Senate side. If McCarthy is guilty, as Good charges, he seems to have put himself in a very bad position. A red wave might still have left him the votes to become Speaker with as many as 73 to spare. Instead, the red wave broke on at least 2, maybe 3 seawalls. One of these seawalls definitely comprised Republican complacency and might have included the nefarious gamesmanship of which Mr. Good accuses Mr. McCarthy and Mr. McConnell. This would also be further evidence of the strife between the Republican establishment and Donald J. Trump's allies. Representative Good further discussed with John Fredericks the options of McCarthy on one hand and the Freedom Caucus on the other. Mr. Good estimated that he had a dozen or more defectors lined up to join him. Even the 5 declared so far would be enough to stop McCarthy. Now, would any Democrats vote for McCarthy to stop a worse Republican from becoming Speaker? From their point of view, Good denied that flatly. No Democrat will vote for a Republican as Speaker, he said. He called such speculation a scare tactic. Laura Loomer dismissed another scare she accused Representative Green of spreading. That if McCarthy didn't win, outgoing Representative Liz Cheney, the rhino from Ohio, would become Speaker. Now, Green did, according to Axios, suggest that moderate Republicans could join forces with Democrats to elect Cheney. Now, Cheney lost her primary, and she won't be returning to Congress as a member. Now, the Speaker of the House doesn't have to be a member of the House, but this scenario requires nearly the entire House Democratic caucus to vote for Cheney. Now, some columnists have been making such noise lately. They include Jennifer Rubin at the Washington Post and John W. Dean at CNN. And if any of you are old enough, as I am, to remember the original Watergate, then I say, after looking at his Twitter account, yes, that Dean. Now, I have links in the description to one tweet from each of these talking heads making just that kind of noise. But that's all it is, noise. So far, no member of Congress other than Marjorie Taylor Greene has said one word along that line. Add to it, McCarthy suffered a major embarrassment in April after a recording surfaced of him saying that he was considering demanding that then President Trump resign. Liz Cheney might or might not be implicated in the leak of that recording, according to Newsweek. Now, if Bob Good's accusations are at all correct, he and his fellow defectors would also be correct in concluding that any other likely Speaker candidate would be better than Kevin McCarthy. McCarthy, for his part, either lines up 218 votes or he's out. And if he did erect one of the 3 seawalls against the red wave, he has only himself to blame. 222 Republicans leaves him a margin of only 4. And he doesn't have them. And again, it's all very well for Marjorie Taylor Greene to warn, or maybe that should be threaten, of a Liz Cheney speakership, but Democrats have already lined up behind Representative Hakeem Jeffries of New York State, an inveterate radical, to lead them. They would never vote for Liz Cheney anyway. They hate her even worse than MAGA Republicans do. So I encourage Representatives Good, Biggs, Gates, Rosendale, and Norman, and whomever else would join them, to hang tough. Kevin McCarthy must not become Speaker of the House. Another senior Republican leadership might be tolerable, but not McCarthy. The time for deal-making in tobacco or marijuana smoke-filled rooms has passed. The time for serious, principled leadership is at hand. Link in the description of the article, to the description of how the House chooses its Speaker, to the interview between John Fredericks and Bob Good, to the 2 tweets by Jennifer Rubin and John W. Dean, to my Declarations of Truth Twitter account, and to Conservative News and Views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store and to oursilverlines.com, as I also mentioned. You know already about how to like a video, turn on notifications, and leave a tip. On the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribed link to my channel and links to my midterms playlist and earlier videos about Biden maybe coming under investigation and Democratic leadership changes. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.